I'll call the March meeting of the Community Services Commission to order. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of us. That's plenty for a quorum. The agenda for the meeting has been distributed. Are there any changes to the agenda right away? All right, if there's no objection, the agenda will stand approved. There being no objection, the agenda is approved. The next item of business is welcome to our new member. Let's go around and introduce ourselves to Brooke, and then we'll have Brooke say a few things about herself so that we don't put her on the spot right away. State your name, how long you've lived here in Richfield, what you do, and how long you've been on the commission, and I'll go ahead and start. My name is Kevin Wendt. I've lived in Richfield for 10 years. I'm on the teaching faculty for computer science at the University of Minnesota. I joined the commission a few years ago. I think this is my third year, I'm not sure. And I'm currently the chair of the commission. David, will you go next?
I will. Good evening. My name is David Benson. I have lived in Richfield for coming up on 2 years now. For work, I work in Parks and Recreation for the city of Bloomington. I oversee the Bloomington Family Aquatic Center and the outdoor ice rinks. Is that everything that we were looking for? Yeah. And next, we'll pass it to Brianna.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I am a naturalist at Wood Lake Nature Center. I actually live in St. Paul, and I'll be talking tonight about the urban wildland race and how it benefits Wood Lake.
I will go next. Hi, I'm Heather McDonald. I've been living in Richfield just about 10 years, I think. And I have been on the commission. This is my second year. Otherwise, I'm a project manager for a computer tech firm that does things I don't quite even understand, but yeah, I think that's everything. I'll pass it to Ralston. And hopefully I said that correctly.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
I'm Ralston Sacco. I moved to Richfield in May of 2020, so a fairly new resident. And I actually recently just entered the job market, so exciting. Yep. All right, popcorn, somebody else.
Meredith, how about you go?
Okay, my name is Meredith. I've lived in Richfield for about 4 years, and I'm a strength and conditioning coach. And I just started on the commission like last month, so my first year.
And Joe, I know you're having technical difficulties, but do you have audio?
Yes, I should have audio. Can
Okay.
everybody hear me? My name is Joseph Miller. I've been in Richfield probably about 15 years now. Purchased my first home in Richfield and I've stayed here. So been on the board for about 2 years. Right now I'm running my own sports memorabilia company. And prior to that, I was in HR software sales, SaaS sales. So it's been an exciting trip so far. So I hope to continue that. And we've got a lot done in the 2 years that I've been on the team.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I've been in Richfield for a year now, and this is my second term now that I'm serving on the commission. And yeah, I joined a little bit later, so I don't know what we're all supposed to be saying. So yeah, that's what I can just get from the people when I started saying. So sorry, I don't know what the questions that I'm supposed to be answering, but yeah.
You did fine. I don't think Jenna Hansen is here with us, so I think that's everybody else on the commission. Amy and John, why don't you two go next? And
Okay, well, we'll round it off with Brooke and Paul as well. I'm Amy Markle. I'm the Recreation Services Director, and I live in Lakeville. I've lived here for 3 years. And I will pass it to Paul.
Hey, I'm Paul Smithson. I'm the manager over at Wood Lake, and I live in Stillwater. And I've been at the Nature Center now for 14 months, a year and 2.
Go ponies.
Go ponies.
I grew up in Stillwater.
Nice.
John, I think you're
Done.
I'm John Evans, and I'm the administrative guy for the department, so I'll be sending out the agendas and other materials to you. I grew up in Richfield, so they're the first 26 years of my life, and have worked for the city for 24 and live in Apple Valley. And my wife works over at Wood Lake and also grew up in Richfield. So, yeah. And Brooke, our new member.
Well, hi, thank you, everyone. I'm so excited to be part of the board. My name is Brooke Nelson. I have lived in Richfield since 2011, and I work for a nonprofit organization called Best Prep, and I work pairing corporate mentors with high school students. And I have 2 children that enjoy the Richfield Park, so I thought that this board would be a fun thing to be a part of.
great.
Nice.
Well, welcome, Brooke.
Thank you.
All right. The next item of business is approval of the minutes from the February 16th, 2021 CSC meeting. The minutes have been distributed. Are there any changes to the minutes? I'll give you a minute to look over them if you haven't already. Heather?
Hi. I believe that the committee reports for the Sustainability Commission, I think someone else had requested that one. I'm happy to be that person. But I think maybe Jenna or someone else had volunteered for that.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think Jenna is the liaison to that group. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
Any other changes for the minutes? There being no further corrections, the minutes are approved. The next item of business is public comment. John, did you get anything from the public?
No.
All right. Thank you. The next hour of business is staff reports. The first report is on recreation programming and COVID-19 from Recreation Director Amy Markle. Amy.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Just a little update on programming. We're still kind of in our pattern of putting out virtual recreation programs, kind of periodically, 1 or 2 a week. We just released one last week about maple syruping. We're also doing some self-guided programs, such as our storybook hikes. We just got done with a few luminary lit hikes in the past month out at Wood Lake. And then, of course, we do have some in-person programming as well that has a lot of mitigation to it. Good example would just be like the weekend maple syrup classes. So everything has a COVID plan that we review in our department. And then I also meet with public safety, so the police chief, and then our public health official meets with us as well. So every single thing kind of gets vetted and approved before it goes out and launched to the public. So we're still looking at that approach right now, and overall staff is really busy gearing up for spring and summer. And there's just a lot of guideline changes, as all of you know, that are coming out, on almost like a bi-weekly basis based on hopefully the COVID science and what they're seeing. And, we've been able to respond, as a positive thing. We're able to have more people attend programs. But I think, for a longer term, I think we're always going to be planning to have social distancing, mask wearing, and some limitations to like how many people can be attending different events. So we've been just kind of monitoring that. And as you know, I think the governor lifted some restrictions last Friday. So we are able to have more people gathering in spaces, still with the mitigation in place. But that affects things, that we are planning for summer. A lot of it's like the pool and how many people will be allowed into the pool and how that will be planned. And I think we'll bring a little report to you at another month once we have our COVID plan completely in place. But we are planning, a pretty rigorous COVID plan to open the pool this summer. Our farmers market, summer camps, different events, athletics. So we're just kind of monitoring and changing COVID plans and opening that up as we can. The other thing we're working on right now is hiring a recreation supervisor in our athletics roles. And then in our city, people over at the community center that do recreation programming, they're called recreation supervisors. And each one kind of has a specific focus. So we have a staff that focuses on adaptive recreation. We have one that focuses more with seniors. And this one is our athletics position. And you may remember previously we had a gentleman named Nick Thompson in the position, and he left last February, kind of right when COVID-19 was starting. So we haven't filled the position largely because we haven't been able to offer a lot of athletics programming. And, looking ahead, we are able to do a lot more this summer. So we are excited to have this position filled. So if you know anybody that would like the position or be interested, it is on the city website. It closes this Sunday. So we're hopeful to have someone interviewed and kind of ready to go, hopefully sometime towards the beginning of May would be awesome. So we're doing the hiring, I think doing a lot of planning for summer is kind of our focus right now. And then before we get to summer, just making sure we have lots of opportunities. We are planning a senior resource fair for April. It's a drive-through program for seniors out in the parking lot. Wood Lakes, and I know Paul and Bree can speak to it, but they are up to their eyeballs this time of year with maple syruping and making maple syrup and doing a lot of the programs associated with that. That's kind of the bulk of it. So if there's any questions.
Any questions on the first report?
Amy, what level position is that? How much experience are you looking for? What background are you looking for?
Yeah, a lot of the work that the staff does is a lot of community work. So it's working with our youth associations. So a lot of the presidents of like youth soccer, youth baseball, youth tennis, working with our school district and their athletics. It's working with adult athletics as well. So leagues could be softball, basketball, bags, dodgeball. It's also community events. So we have our rec supervisors rotate through all the bigger community events. So they may do like red, white, and blue days for a few years, and then they rotate and do like it's one that's usually done in January. It's like an ice fishing celebration out at Taft Lake. We do a spring egg event, so they kind of rotate through those bigger events. This person is also going to help kind of weekly operations at the dog park and hopefully help plan some programming at the dog park. It'd be wonderful to have someone come in and have some experience with just working with youth sports associations and different different things that go into athletics. I think being able to speak Spanish would be a huge bonus as well, since we have a large Spanish speaking population.
All right, thank you.
Amy, am I able to selfishly ask if you know how lifeguard hiring is going so far?
So far I haven't heard anything negative. I think we had Renee Zink, who does all of our aquatics programming, has done a good job reaching out to see if people want to return. I know we have some openings, but I know we also have people that want to come back for sure. So I haven't heard of any challenges yet. And I do think it'd be great to have Renee come once we again have that summer pool COVID plan in place and come talk about aquatics and what it will look like for the summer. And she could probably speak more to the lifeguarding.
All right, if there's no more questions, and Amy can just continue right along and do Inclusive Playground.
Yeah, and I know we have some new commission members, so I'm going to probably start back a few more steps to bring them into the fold with our Inclusive Playground project. So our Augsburg Park Playground is the oldest one in our park system, and it was scheduled to be replaced last year. And the way we replace playgrounds is based on their age. And every year we have a set amount of money that we can put towards playgrounds. And we usually can do 1 to maybe 3 a year, depending on the budget and priorities. And one of the needs in our community and kind of surrounding community is an inclusive playground. So we identified that park would have enough space to house one, and it would have a few more of the components needed, such as accessible sidewalks and parking and things like that. So in planning to replace that playground, we decided to look at designing an inclusive playground. So we did get a few proposals from playground designers, and we ultimately went with one called Northland Rec. And the overall cost, what we wanted to do is a little over $700,000. So we sought some grants, and we got a large grant from Hennepin County for $300,000 in 2019. And then last year in 2020, we were awarded $200,000 from the state of Minnesota. And then our Community Services Commission, we budgeted about $180,000 out of our annual capital improvement budget. That and a bunch of donations that we received from like the Rotary, the Centerpoint Energy Foundation, and a few other groups that we've reached out to, we do have the funding secured. And it's been challenging this past year with COVID because the state grant is connected to federal money that's released to the state. In order to release the federal funds, a lot of signatures are needed. And one of them is from a tribal council. And they were not meeting virtually during COVID, and they also obviously weren't meeting in person. So we were unable to secure the signatures, which was challenging because we were already awarded the funds, but they weren't released. So we've been very patient this past year. And since we last met, we were told, the money has been released to the state and we are good to go as far as the playground. So in meeting with Northland Rec, we are able to kind of finish our site elevation work mid-April. And then as soon as the ground thaws, we will be able to start the construction of the playground. And we're anticipating we would be done with the project, depending on the weather, mid to late June. We would do a ribbon cutting, and of course, all of you would be invited. But I'm super excited. We also were able, through another grant, we got secure a kiosk, a large sign that will go up in signage on the kiosk to recognize our project partners. and just kind of celebrate what a nice, amenity it will be for everybody to have this playground. The focus of it is really all people, all abilities, being able to play together. So there'll be opportunities for fully able-bodied children and adults and those with disabilities to play together. So a good example is we planned a fully inclusive zip line where it's a bucket seat that goes along the zip line. And in working with actually some fifth graders that provided some valuable feedback, they told me we'd wait in line forever to go on the zip line, and we can't zip line with our friends, which is the whole point. So we added a second zip line that's for able-bodied kids, so they can go together and kind of on the zip line and play together. So, and then late in the season last year, a new playground piece came to market, and it is a special, I don't know how to, for lack of better words, it's kind of like a playhouse, and it's really designed for people that have autism or Asperger's syndrome. It has all these cool fidget spinners and things for kids to do in the playhouse. And so if they want to kind of take a time out and go over to the playhouse and engage with the different devices over there, there'll be that opportunity. But it's been vetted by a lot of groups, and it will be a sensory certified playground too. We've been working with Fraser schools in Richfield to make sure that we have different sensory components. So there's a whole section that has instruments, that's auditory. We have some different learning panels that have Braille. So it's neat. The whole thing should be done, like I said, I would say mid to late June, kind of weather dependent. So we'll have more information, I think, every month, kind of outline the progress. The old playground will get torn out. That's a question I have had from a few residents. That playground, and it's hard for some residents to understand because it's been in the shade, particularly the one over by the high school tennis courts. It hasn't aged as dramatically as some of the other playgrounds across the city, so it doesn't look like it's as old as it is. But it is quite old. I think it's 1994, 95. The other one that's down closer to the tennis courts, was placed very close to the water. Both of these sets were. So one thing I'm looking forward to is when they're torn out, is we are going to rehabilitate that area with pollinator plants. That's written into the grant. So it'll become more of a nice buffer between the park and the water, because the smaller kids' playground was very close to the water. So there'll be more of a barrier between the two. Another question that's popped up is, what about the oak trees? And in working with the playground designer, I told him no trees can get cut down for this project, and we need to be sensitive in making sure they have the appropriate radius around them to get enough water into their root system. So that's actually part of the design, is we want kids to feel like they're kind of in the trees. They're not climbable, but the playground itself kind of is in vertical in some places. So they'll be up, kind of up where the tree branches are when they're towards the top. But the trees themselves won't be impacted by the project. That was one of our guidelines, is no trees can be cut. We have to kind of build around the trees. So.
Heather?
Yeah, Amy, I have a quick question too, and you kind of answered part of it. Well, and maybe this is more a comment than a question. With all of that in mind, and kind of still having the Sustainability Commission stuff, fresh for me, I would say that might be something we could reach out to them about. I don't know, if there's a certain vendor that we're already working with for the I don't remember the word you used, but the sustainable, plantings that we're planning on doing and everything. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's something we could kind of reach out to them and partner with them a little bit too, and give them some visibility with it, and I think that might be a good A, relationship builder, and B, give them a little bit of empowerment.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Paul and I both work with this company called Prairie Restorations. And we've
Yeah.
worked with them for, I know me personally, it's been probably 15, 16 years. That is a high visibility area. So if they wanted to almost like sponsor that area, pollinator plants, because it is expensive. If they wanted to do the planting and then put a sign like sponsored by Prairie Restorations, that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. That makes me really happy to hear all of that green stuff. By the way, so
Yeah, me too.
Any other questions on the inclusive playground?
Yeah, I will respond to Joseph's comment in that, yeah, we definitely want to preserve our old oak trees. Some of them are starting to show some signs of oak wilt. So we have, budgeted funds this past year to inject them with, like vitamins basically that helps protect them against oak wilt. But our Sustainability Commission is working on a tree preservation policy. Next week we meet, I think it's the 28th, and we have 2 tree policy experts coming in to talk to the commission as we start to draft the policy. And we're hopeful to bring that to the city council probably, if I had to guess, it might be early summer. And really to try to protect some of our older trees when we can. And make sure we have some amount of funding to help protect some of them against all of the diseases and pests they're up against too. Yeah, I appreciate that comment.
I'm really looking forward to it being done.
Me too.
You're up again, Wood Lake Nature Center building project.
Yeah, this is so exciting to share with everybody today. We officially kicked off our pre-design start to the Wood Lake Nature Center building project. So if you're kind of new to the conversation, as a lot of you know, Wood Lake is turning 50 this year. Its official birthday is May 5th. Our building's in really rough shape, and we really want to secure the future of Wood Lake. So we have started the process for designing a new building. And we're working with a company called HGA. And you might remember from last month, I mentioned that they also did Westwood Hills Nature Center in St. Louis Park. They've done the Gathering Center at Theodore Wirth. They also did Whitetail Woods recently out in Dakota County. And they do a really nice job with the architecture blending into the landscape and using natural elements in the design. So we have drafted a bonding bill that has gone to the legislature. It's been read both in the House and the Senate. We met with the House chair of the Finance Committee last week, and I was able to present to him our project. The 3 areas of funding focus for Chair Lee is it needs to have regional impact. It can't be a local project, which we do have. It needs to be sustainable in design and function, and it also needs to have equity built in and serve the BIPOC community, which we do. So I feel really strongly about this project, that it's well poised to be funded. It's just all a matter of how much money will be attached in this year's bonding bill. If we also had a bill last year, so if we don't get it this year, I would be really hopeful and think we'd be really well set for next year. So we will be asking Chair Lee to come out for a tour and see the site. And usually if they come out for a tour, that's a good sign that they're really interested in the project. We're going to be testifying Thursday morning in front of Republicans and Democrats about the project. So that will be nice. Representative Mike Howard will be introducing the bill, and then the mayor and myself will be testifying. We're asking for 10 million, and typically, you know, you don't get fully funded. It'll probably be closer to 8. I'm not sure exactly how it will, you know, when and if we get funded, how it will land. But then we have several years to come up with the match. So in doing this pre-design work, we are starting to pull together concepts and themes and look at needs and wants and stuff in a new building, and get some architectural renderings. And that's something we can go out into the greater community to build support, so people can wrap their heads around, you know, what this new facility would look like. And, you know, looking at potential funding partners, community partners, residents, so they understand. And there's definitely a strong component of this whole process that will have public engagement. So we will be reaching out. We want to make sure this is a community building that represents our whole community. So everyone has opportunities to provide feedback and give us opinions on what they're interested in seeing. So today we had a great first meeting, though. I feel like we are on a good track for this. And our core team is Paul, who's here tonight, myself, Dave Conrads, who oversees all of the government buildings in Richfield, and then Rachel Lindholm, who's our sustainability specialist. So, you know, we'll be meeting and probably have our first round of concepts ready for you to respond to and provide feedback sometime before June would be our goal. So super exciting. I'm enthused about this. Any questions at all?
Going once, going twice. All right. Well, thank you, Amy, for all the reports. Next order of business is discussion items. The first one regards the urban wildland races, and Brianna Rogers, the Wood Lake Naturist, will lead the discussion. Go ahead, Brianna.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for having me here tonight. So I'll give a brief background on what the race is and the reason behind the race, and then just kind of the latest update the last couple years. As I was shadowing Amy, she used to be the race director, and kind of what took place the last couple years with COVID, and then our plan for this year going forward. So the Urban Wildland Half Marathon and 5K race started in 2003 when there was some local government budget cuts for environmental education. So the Richfield students used to visit Wood Lake, and then because of that funding cut, they weren't able to afford to come anymore. And so through this race, 100% of the proceeds of this race goes back to benefit Wood Lake. And in return, they allow, for the last, I guess now it would be 19 years, have allowed the Richfield Public Schools to come out for the field trips 3 times a year, and that's kindergarten through 6th grade. And then in the last couple of years, it shifted to 2 times a year to pre-kindergarten through 5th grade. So we do all their programming for free. And so it's for a great cause. I love that it goes back to Wood Lake and builds community and encourages that they reach some of their standards while they come out and visit. So that's about, I think I calculated it with Scott, the other naturalist, and that's about 130,000 student visits that we've been able to provide for free, which is pretty awesome. So in a normal year, the race usually holds about between 1,000 and 1,200 runners, and most of those are the half marathon runners. And then last year, because of COVID, this time about last year, we kind of had to decide, you know, we don't want to cancel it because it's such a good cause. So we went virtual with it. And we probably had about 450 runners that participated, which is awesome. And then this year we decided to do a hybrid. So we're still offering the virtual components, and we added actually 4 distances total. So there's a 5K, 10K, 10 miler, and then the half. And then this year, we put together a COVID plan and we submitted it to the local authorities, and they approved for in-person race for the half and the 5K up to 250 runners per race. So the biggest thing there is we actually split the event into 2 events. So normally the event takes place the last Saturday in July. And this year we moved the 5K actually to the Friday before on the 30th. And then the half marathon will still be at the same time, 7 a.m. on July 31st. So that takes place at the Ice Arena. And that's where it starts. And then hopefully this year we're excited to showcase our new certified half marathon course. The year I took over kind of shadowing Amy in 2019, it actually flooded quite badly. And so it was an out and back course. So we're excited this year to be able to have a certified course that actually goes through, I believe it's 7 different parks within Richfield, and the whole course is throughout Richfield, like the neighborhoods and the businesses and the parks. So it's both a road race and a trail race, which is pretty fun. Normally I think, I want to say like 13 states, runners from 13 different states and our own will come. So it's like one of the biggest events in Richfield. It draws a lot of people. Last year we even had 2 people out of country do our race since it went virtual. And we've had a few famous people do the race as well. So a few Olympians and things like that, which is pretty fun. There's been quite a few people that said, like, I've never missed a race. So they've ran 19, well, this will be the 19th year. So that's really fun that we have a big following like that and people really love the cause. Some changes that we're making this year to provide a fun and safe event is that we're kind of taking away any touch points. There'll be hand washing stations throughout the course. Everyone will be required to wear a mask unless they're actually running on the course. The biggest thing too is that we'll be doing either wave times or corral times. Right now, I think we're about 20 to 25 runners per wave. With the new regulations that just came out on Friday, we could potentially up that to 50. So it's still really fluid. We have plans in place, but as we get closer and if things change, we may be able to open registration to allow for a few more runners. We won't be doing a big after party like we normally do. So we'll just ask people, you know, once they come through the finish line to grab their medal, to grab their shirts, grab their little goodie bags and head back to the car, and we'll be sending out results virtually. And I'm trying to think, yeah, we'll mostly be relying on staff to help with the race. Usually in the past, it was hundreds of volunteers. And so we'll kind of be limiting the water stops. Maybe we'll just do like a family pod rather than, normally it's different grades from the Richfield schools. So that's really fun because they're out there cheering on the runners and thanking them for their support and making their education at Wood Lake possible. So we might do some foot pump water stations and things like that. So just trying to get creative, also still provide that race day feel for these runners. I'm trying to think if there's any other, I did want to share with you, this is really cool. When I started kind of as the race director, I'm going to see if I can share my screen with you. One fun thing is that in 2011, if any of you are Always Sunny in Philadelphia fans, I guess Charlie Day was spotted wearing one of the Urban Wildland shirts on the show, which I thought was pretty cool. So that's our little claim to fame here. So I'll stop sharing my screen. So that's kind of a little bit about Wood Lake and the Urban Wildland race and kind of what it's about. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. Right now, I think we have about 200 that are registered out of 250 for the half, and then 50 in person for the 5K. So there's still room. If any of you would like to sign up if you're a runner, you could do it virtually from home too as well.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that if you want to explain how they can register, and if you see a Woodlake post, or if you like Urban Wildland on Facebook, if you'd like to share that with your circle of friends and family, the more runners, the better. It benefits Woodlake. It's for a great cause, and it shows off our park system and our city in a usually a really positive way. So if anybody sees any social media posts, feel free to share them. We'd appreciate that.
Another awesome thing is we received a grant through Hennepin County and Three Rivers, I believe, like a Youth Moves grant, and part of that money, 5,000 of it went towards 150 free scholarships to run the 5K last year virtually. So they filled up within a couple of days. I want to say people were just really excited to get their kids out and maybe give them that first experience of running too. And so we were able to continue that on this year. And there's also a spot on the website, which is urbanwildland.com, where you could donate to that as well. So we're just really excited, all about getting kids outside, being active, starting potentially introducing them to running. So lots of great causes to support this race. So yeah, if you go to the website, either at Woodlake, our website, there's a little tab about Urban Wildland, or if you just type in urbanwildland.com, it'll bring you there and kind of show you the reasons behind the race and being sustainable and how we do our race and what it supports. So yeah. Any last questions? I'm happy to try to answer them. All right, thank you so much for having me, and I'll stick around for a little bit. I might need to jump off early to put my daughter to bed, but if I don't see the rest of you tonight, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right. The next item of business is discussion of the Woodlake Nature Center's 50th birthday. Paul Smithson, go ahead.
Wrong button. Sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah, this year on May 5th was the dedication of Woodlake Nature Center, as we are all familiar with those beautiful buildings down there by the marsh. And so for the 50th, both Foul Board and the staff have been trying to figure out the best way to do it. The COVID has certainly impacted some of the decisions, at least initially, but we're hoping that by the end of the year, we'll be able to have a little more of a familiar celebration for such a milestone, for such a fantastic nature center and asset of the community in the region. So on May 5th, we're planning a rededication ceremony with the mayor, other city leaders, state leaders, different business leaders throughout the community and the area, and hopefully a few or at least one resident who grew up in the area that has quite a presence, both in from being from Richfield, but also in his accomplishments. So that will be a small gathering, 40, 50 people. We'll sort of be watching what the guidelines are to let us know what it'll be in terms of total numbers. But we're hoping at that time to tell the story, but also share where we're hoping Woodlake's going to go. You heard Amy earlier speaking about the building project update. We're hoping to use this as an opportunity to show we're 50 years into this wonderful journey, and we're looking to do another 50, obviously, hopefully more. The other thing, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. The other thing with that event is will be the staff will be speaking. I'll be saying a few words, the mayor, and we're still trying to piece together the whole list, but we're inviting the media to come to sort of give it a little more of a presence in both the local media, but also the regional media to make sure everyone knows that what Woodlake has been up to, and also where we're hoping to go. So that's the more formal event and sort of celebration, 50 years in the spring. As we go through the summer, we're hoping to do some events with summer solstice, the longest celebration of Wood Lake that we possibly can do because it's the longest day of the year. And other events throughout, tagging on the 50th to events we already do. We're already doing that a little bit with the maple syruping. In October, October 1st, a Friday, our plan right now is to do a movie in the park, bring a inflatable movie screen and put it over by the little picnic area by the Emily Day Pavilion, and have a family-friendly movie in the park evening on that first, with popcorn, and everyone can just hang out and watch a movie. And then on the second will be a celebration. Will be the big, what we would all expect, community celebration, celebrating those 50 years of Wood Lake being a nature center. In that event, we're hoping to bring in local vendors for food, maybe a local brewery. We'll have musicians. The specifics haven't been hammered out, but the ideas all seem currently not super reasonable. By October, from a COVID perspective, we're much more hopeful, and we'll probably plan multiple levels, of what to do, so we're not like out a whole bunch of money or whatever. We're getting pretty good at strategizing for COVID, and when to say yay, when to say nay, and also just messaging so everyone knows what the plan is. But October 1st and 2nd is when we're planning to have that big event. There's a lot of other events going on in Richfield in September, middle of October, and later on starts to get a little bit cold. So we think we picked the right date. It's just a matter of a little bit of luck with the weather, but really, I think people will come out regardless. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I saw your message about the popcorn and the wildlife, and that is something that we'll have to remind people to clean up after themselves, and maybe we'll see how much is out there. Hopefully there won't be too much. So those are the plans specifically for the 50th birthday this year. We worked with some of the FOWL members, the Friends of Wood Lake Board, and then a few other volunteers to come up with a logo and some other ideas. We're shifting, we're shifting our dinner, which also got canceled because of COVID, into a more a different fundraiser focused more on the 50th. So for different levels of a donation, you'll get a different 50th marked item, whether it can be a bottle of maple syrup or from the 50th year, or a tote bag, or a set of note cards, different things like that. So we're aiming to do that as well. Any questions?
I have a idea for
Sure.
promotion. And you always see these news stories and stuff, and you mentioned news stories for the promotion of the 50th, but are there any rehab clinics where we could have animals released into the park and have news stories done on that, mentioning the park itself?
That's a great question. Well, a great idea rather. The Wildlife Rehab Center usually releases the animals if safe from where they were injured. And the Raptor Center tends to do the same thing, or has certain guidelines for where they go. I'm not familiar if Wood Lake has released animals, rehabbed animals in the past or not. But it's certainly something we could look into. I know Raptor releases are pretty dramatic and pretty fantastic. Whether we would be a site that would fit all the parameters, I don't know. But it's a simple call. So,
all right, thanks, Paul. I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah.
Other questions, thoughts?
Well, if you come up with anything later on, feel free to email me. I'm just over at the Nature Center. I would say stop by, but we're still unfortunately closed. But you can come out to any of our programs. We're doing many more, as was mentioned earlier, in-person programs, mitigated, of course, but it's more familiar than it has been. So we're inching our way towards towards different times again. So we're looking forward to it.
Good. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
The next item of business is discussion of summer events in the playground process for Amy.
Yeah, I just wanted to keep everybody update because I know we're starting to get questions from, I just had one today from the Richfield Sun Current, like, what are we going to do for 4th of July? People are excited, I think, to post-COVID. So we definitely are monitoring the guidelines for some of our larger events. And I think we're going to try to hold out to make a decision as long as we can and see if it'd be favorable to have certain components of events. If we're not able to do like a 4th of July parade, our fireworks due to COVID, one thing that we are been thinking of is trying to potentially tie in some of these type of events into other things on the calendar in the fall. So for instance, we could maybe do fireworks with Penn Fest or do a street dance during Penn Fest to help Red, White, and Blue Days. So as we kind of make some of these decisions in the coming probably month for Red, White, and Blue Days, it feels early, but the insurance needs to be purchased relatively soon. And it's about $6,000. And so they'll eat it if they pay for it and don't have the event. So we want to make sure we make the best decision kind of based on the forecast for COVID. And so I just want to let people know, if you hear questions from residents, I don't think, we have a clear exact answer what we are going to do and what we're not, but we are starting to formulate like plan A, plan B, plan C. And we are hopeful if we couldn't do something, during the typical celebration time, we would be able to potentially plan for a fall type festival. So I just want to let everyone know that. The next thing is just playground process. And as I've been checking in with Northland Recreation, and that's the playground company that we are working with for the inclusive playground, they have let me know that a lot of the playground equipment is behind about 10 weeks in ordering, and that is due to steel. And steel manufacturing during COVID has gotten really behind schedule. And this is true too, as we've been working through the renovation project at the ice arena. The HVAC system finally got installed last week, and we were waiting on the steel components of that. So due to COVID, production is really behind. So Northland Rec said, whatever you do with summer playgrounds, I would start now, because if you want to build it we usually build ours after Labor Day in Richfield. We can have whatever we want ordered early summer and ready to be installed by the end of summer. And so with that, I've been talking with John Evans on our typical process. And if you're new to the commission, what we usually do is when we set up our capital improvement budget, we identify what playground is next in line to be replaced. And this year it's Christian Park and Fremont Park. Those are both the two next oldest. And what we usually will do is send a little postcard out to the neighborhoods adjacent to that neighborhood park. And they will come to City Hall and we will do like a little presentation about different playground options for equipment. And then we get feedback, preferences. We kind of compile that. And as we put the guidelines out for playground proposals, we factor in all of the neighborhood feedback. So whatever playgrounds selected, it's really based on what residents have said they would like to see. But due to COVID, what we'd like to propose and just kind of get your feedback is we would send a postcard out to the neighborhoods around Christian and Fremont parks. And instead of having people indoors at City Hall, we would plan for them to come to the park at a specific night. And we have a bunch of tents that we could put up, and we could just have kind of like an open house, like come to the recreation tents from 6 to 7:30. And we would be able to, kind of engage with masks and social distancing and let people know about the different options. And we were thinking about having clipboards where people could fill out preferences and provide feedback, but also ask questions. And then we kind of compile that information and put that out for a request for proposals from our playground vendors. And then within our commission here, we would have a few members that may be interested in coming in and scoring the proposals. And I know Kevin helped 2 years ago with what we put in. We got Nicollet, Taft, and Jefferson Parks. So we kind of score the different vendors' proposals, and then that's usually the one we go with, what we select. They can order the equipment, and with the steel manufacturing back order problem, hopefully it would be here in place to install after Labor Day when the students are back in school. So they'll have the playgrounds to play all summer, and then we'll install in the fall. So I just wanted to see if that process seems reasonable, or if we should, if you have other ideas, I think we're open to them. But I think the important thing is to get community feedback and just, be mindful of COVID and safety.
Are you planning on, when we send out the information to the residents, are you going to have some kind of either an actual live virtual open house or a survey of some kind that they can do if they feel uncomfortable going to an in-person, even if it is outdoors?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kevin. John was saying we can have something kind of like a Survey Monkey that we can also have people can click on and fill out. So on the postcard, yeah, they could either come to the meeting or fill out that Survey Monkey with the preferences for the playground.
We also talked about making some of the hard copy surveys available in our little free library.
Yep.
And if people aren't comfortable with Survey Monkey, they can swing over and grab one and throw it in our mailbox.
Yeah, that's a good point. If people wanted, they don't have access to computer or printing things and doing stuff online, that way too, yeah, we can just put them in our free little library and they can swing by. And we have a mailbox on the outside of the community center. They could just put their survey in the mailbox as well.
I also had some about the kind of the summer events. And we obviously don't know what the governor's going to do and what his next proclamation and the next relaxing restrictions might look like, but how is like vaccination going to play? I mean, how do people that are vaccinated, how do they play into that same plan?
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be tricky. I think we're going to be wearing masks for a while and social distancing, like right through the summer holidays, especially with large gatherings. And most gatherings, involve food or drink. That's the other thing. So people will naturally be taking off their masks. Yeah, that's a good question, Kevin. I don't know exactly how it will play out.
Have you heard anything about like vaccination passports or anything like that?
I have heard, public health said, once you get vaccinated, you have like your papers. I'm not sure. I don't think the city has a policy, has thought about that. If there'll be, any sort of policy where you have to be vaccinated to come to this or not vaccinated. I don't know.
Due to HIPAA, you can't ask people whether or not they're getting vaccinated.
There you go. Yeah,
Right, not about asking, I'm saying like if there were, there's a restriction on the number of people, but if I'm vaccinated and I bring and offer this, right? Like they've been talking about different limits based on whether you're vaccinated or not.
Mhm.
I get what you're saying, but due to privacy, you can't like make those that you can't make that offered, because then that would basically, like, people who have been vaccinated are outing themselves as being vaccinated, and people who haven't are showing that they haven't been vaccinated. So that those privacy things.
Gotcha. Any other questions for Amy? Okay. Well, we're about 5 minutes past where we usually want to end up. We'll go through the next order of business, which is all the commission liaison reports. Try and go through them quickly. Mine's really quick. I'm the first one, Transportation Commission. I didn't go, and they don't have minutes yet. So, and they haven't had a meeting since November. So I'll wait until I see the minutes and try and go to the next one. But I got nothing to report yet. So, Foul Board is next. Meredith.
I'll go next. I had just gotten appointed the liaison like 2 days before, so I didn't have a link for the meeting. And honestly, in reading through the minutes from it, I think everything's been covered today with all of the lovely updates with the building update, summer programming, the 50th anniversary planning, and like was echoed earlier around the urban wildlife, wildland marathon. Schools are starting to come back in, a little bit more in-person programming, but nothing new that hasn't already been reported, and we meet on Thursday.
Great. Planning Commission, Stephanie.
I don't have anything to report. I never received the link for their meeting. The only thing I got was a link that some of their notes, I guess, were like online, but I don't know if they have my. Well, I guess they do have my. I'm not sure. I just never received like the WebEx like link to join like the meeting. So yeah.
Yeah, I send everybody's emails to their staff liaisons for those groups, but if you aren't hearing from them, let me know and I can remind them of your contact info.
Okay, thanks.
Arts Commission is next. Lisa's not here. Amy, do you have anything on arts?
Yeah, they're working on a new brochure that kind of maps out all the art installations across the city. And then the Richfield Sun-Current is going to be doing a piece about a Richfield art tour. And it's going to highlight 8 art features across the city that people could probably walk, bike, drive to, and check out. So they're pretty excited about that. And they're just looking ahead to some of the projects art related. There's one going in at the Chase Bank location at 66 in Lindale. We'll be wrapping a couple more electrical boxes this summer. There's a new pocket park coming in across the street from Home Depot. It's a very small corner of land that will have a bench, and it's kind of a wayside rest area for people on the regional bike trail on Richfield Parkway. But it will include a piece of art, public art, that they'll be kind of looking at with the artists and the people that are planning that whole development adjacent to the pocket park. That's about it.
Cool. Friendship City, Ralston.
Yep. So I have their handout from their last meeting in which they amended their bylaws. They elected, all the new people, the chair and the vice chair and the secretary. And I also haven't received a WebEx link for their next meeting, which is in about 3 days. It says it's taking place at the Nature Center. I'm not sure if it's actually if it ended up being there, but yeah, I could, wait to receive a link to that, or maybe they're actually having it at the Nature Center. I'm not sure, but that is their new business.
Amy, my guess is online that they're meeting.
Yeah,
Most
yep,
likely.
they're meeting
Yeah.
via Webex.
But
Okay.
I'll send your info to Paul, and he would be for foul as well, Meredith. And just remind him to include you on the agenda materials.
Right. I
And
did get a link for the meeting this week.
oh, you did.
So
Okay.
I did, yeah. I just like in February the meeting, like we had just met that week, and I didn't that for that week of the February meeting, but I'm good to go for Thursday.
And sustainability, I should have put Jenna's name. That should say Hanson.
Yes. So of course, the big discussion item for sustainability is the move towards organized collection. At the meeting, it was stated there was no update yet, but there should be by the next meeting, which is next week. So I would assume decisions are being made and it's coming. But one thing that was the big discussion item was municipal solid waste goals for the coming years. So targets 25 to 40% participating in organics recycling, and then 30% of households doing either every other week or 35-gallon weekly trash pickups. So reducing, of course, trash, increasing organics. So then after 1 year of organized collection, they'll be calculating those percentages breakdown so that we'll be able to hit those goals. And then there'll also be quarterly educational opportunities offered around solid waste, recycling, organics, and then the reduction and then reusing as well.
Thank you. Last one, honoring all veterans memorial. Amy, you have anything on that one?
Yeah, so we've been meeting and talking about Memorial Day and what they'll be planning in light of COVID. They, unfortunately had a huge celebration planned for 2020 that involved a Huey helicopter from Vietnam. One of the last working helicopters from the conflict was going to swoop in to the Veterans Park and be part of the ceremony, which we were really excited about. But because of COVID, they're probably going to be doing it in 2022. They haven't totally finalized it, but they would like to still try to do that. But they're just working on adding some new names to the memorial itself, Memorial Day ceremony, and then they also are doing Voices of Our Veterans project, where they're bringing in a different veteran, trying to every month, and do kind of a living history type interview with them, and putting that out to the public to help make the memorial seem a little more personal to people. And then we are looking for a Community Services Commission member to be a liaison to have them. And in talking with Brooke before the meeting, she may be interested, but I want to make sure that no one else was interested. I know we asked last month, and I didn't think there was anyone that was greatly interested, but if there wasn't, Brooke may be interested in that. I know last month, can you guys help me remember, did we formally vote on liaisons to the other commissions?
We did. Yeah, we appointed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can do the have them one next month, if that's okay with you, Brooke.
Yeah, absolutely. If nobody else, I don't want to take it from somebody if they really wanted it, but yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, we'll pass on to the chair.
Anything else there, Amy?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Only one announcement towards the end here, and that's the next meeting is Tuesday, April 20th at 7 p.m. Again, back on WebEx. Any other announcements before we move on? Seeing none, is there any further business for the commission? There being no further business, meeting adjourned.